Today I'm going to show you the weirdest borders in the world. They all really have strange stories. This is Morocco. Known to us as Morocco. The place we will examine is located within Morocco, but it does not belong to Morocco. Melilla, Spain's territory in North Africa. The city, surrounded by the Moroccan border, has an area of only 20 kilometers. This small piece of land is surrounded by one of the most protected borders on the planet. Let's take a look at how this border was formed. The first layer is made up of a metal fence about 19 feet 8 and 3/10 inches high. Then comes a second height that is more flexible, making climbing even more difficult. Right below the second height, cylindrical wire meshes have been placed. Following this, an inclined wall about 26 feet long, which is longer than all of these, has been added. Even if you could overcome all of these, which is not possible, the next, that is the fourth obstacle, is made right after the 2-meter ditch, consisting of 2 elevations 13 feet high covered with wire beadings. In addition, all these obstacles are monitored by the watchtower and cameras, so every point of the border is being watched. So why was there a need for all these security measures, especially in such a layered way? The reason for this is hidden in some towns of Morocco. Most African immigrants who come here want to have better conditions. That's why plans are made almost every day to cross into Melilla. In one plan, dozens of people attempted to cross the border simultaneously rather than individually. In this way, the security forces could be overwhelmed and perhaps some lucky immigrants might be able to get in. Crossing into Melilla technically makes them Europeans, of course, until they get caught. In this small settlement area of Spain located in Morocco, the border was fortified to prevent this when such illegal immigrant developments began to peak in 2014. In the end, those who lost hope in Melilla chose to go to other European countries. All right, the second border belongs to the same region again, the Berm Wall in Morocco. This is a sand wall, about 1,677 miles long. This is the view of Morocco from above. Morocco is an African country that rules and claims rights over all these lands. However, if you look at maps related to Morocco, you can see a confusion. A dashed line passes right through the middle of the map and divides Morocco in two. Just below this line is Western Sahara, but the 1,677 miles borderline I'm talking about is not this. The border I'm talking about is exactly this. This line has an interesting story. At the beginning of the 1900s, 90% of Africa was under the colony of European countries. Many different countries had taken many different regions under their own colony. With the establishment of the United Nations in 1945, colonial activities began to decrease. Eventually, countries gained their independence one by one. One of them was Morocco. Morocco gained its independence in 1956, but a year later, it claimed rights over Western Sahara, which was under Spanish control. In 1965, the UN asked Spain to leave the region, but Spain refused. The United Nations issued a resolution called "Let Everyone Determine Their Own Region's Fate." Whatever happened, happened after this. In 1973, the organization Polisario was founded to oppose Spanish rule. In 1975, Spain withdrew from Morocco, yet Morocco remained resolute. Hassan stated that the region known as Western Sahara belongs to them, not the Sahrawis, who are the people inhabiting the area. They had been fighting for independence for decades and had achieved this with Spain's withdrawal from the region. Almost. The Phaesians pushed them into the depths of the desert. Many took refuge in Algeria, but along with those who stayed and defended, that's how the border emerged today. A 1,677 miles long unofficial border filled with mines and made of sand. Today, 85% of Western Sahara is under Moroccan control. The main function of this sand border is to exclude the Polisario front fighters seeking independence for Western Sahara after Spain ended its colonial occupation in 1975 from Morocco. The organization called Polisario which wants the independence of the Sahrawi people, also wants to prevent Morocco's dominance over this land and wants Morocco to leave Western Sahara and the old border line, i.e. the official line, to be applied again. The bad news for them came in 2020 when the U.S. stated that it supported Morocco. Spain and the Netherlands followed suit as they all had vested interests. America had supported Morocco on the condition of control over Western Sahara, the Netherlands with a deal to take in illegal immigrants, and Spain because of gas. The truth is, no one cared about the desperation of a people pushed into the depths of death. Sometimes the past can cause you trouble. This can be not only politically, but also economically, historically, or religiously. Here's about the third border, the tomb of Suleyman Shah, which is between Turkey and Syria. Turkey and Syria are neighboring countries, but once these lands belonged to the Turks. Long before the official establishment of the Ottoman Empire, Suleyman Shah, one of the most important figures in the process, sets out with a few beys from the Kai tribe to discover new homelands, according to the legend. First, he comes to the vicinity of Adana and then to the Jabbar Castle, which is now in Syria. While trying to cross the river here, he and the beys with him meet their end in God's mercy. The body of Suleyman Shah and 2 soldiers are buried in a mausoleum at the foot of Jabbar Castle. Why the body wasn't returned to the Kai tribe is another issue entirely. The tomb remains peacefully within the borders of the Ottoman Empire for many years. When the land ceased to be Turkish territory, the tomb of Suleyman Shah is left alone. However, with the Ankara Treaty signed on October 20th, 1921, the Kaber Castle and everything within it is considered Turkish territory. But this is Syria, and there is a dictator at the helm. In 1968, when Syria announced it would start building a dam and the tomb would be left underwater, the tomb was moved to the village of Karakozak, north of Syria. Why hadn't they moved to Turkey? Over the years, although the tomb issue has been a problem with Syria many times, another official step was taken in 2015, because this time, Islamic State of Iraq and Syria had stepped in.
While the civil war in Syria continued at full speed, Turkey's focus was on the tomb of Suleyman Shah. The Islamic State of Iraq, which had taken over the region, had threatened Turkey to evacuate the tomb.
Turkey's only territory abroad, the Suleyman Shah Respect Outpost and tomb located in Syria, was completely evacuated. The tomb's valuable relics were taken, rendering the building unusable. Suleyman
Shah is in his temporary residence for now for his eternal rest.
You may not know anything about Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, but it's enough to know this. The world doesn't even matter to them. An organization that loves to destroy anything that is particularly sacred. The fear was that the tomb of Suleyman Shah could be destroyed by Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. Islamic State of Iraq and Syria even uploaded a video about this on YouTube. Maybe Turkey didn't want to take a risk on this, I don't know, but the tomb was moved again, even further north and close to 109 yards, 3 feet 3 inches from the Turkish border. In the end, where we've arrived is Turkey, Syria, and a bit of Turkey in Syria. The Prime Minister of the time, Ahmet Davutoglu, had visited the tomb, prayed, and greeted the Syrians just behind the border created by fences. To the tomb, you can comment if it could have been preserved instead of being moved. But in my opinion, preserving the tomb was a risk. If we had chosen to protect it with military personnel despite the warnings, this could have led to our soldiers clashing with Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. I'm just wondering why the tomb wasn't moved within the borders of Turkey in the first place. Lastly, we'll examine a maritime border, the South China Sea. This sea has major trade routes, oil, gas, fishing, and much more. That's why it's such an important point, so much so that everyone wants to own it. However, each country has a designated special area in this sea. For instance, the sea areas that bordering nations like Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, and China should possess are approximately as follows. But China wants to own all this area by saying, I don't recognize whether it's Vietnam or Malaysia. I've been here for 5,000 years. The area they want is exactly this, and it's the same thing as owning about 90% of the South China Sea. This creates a complete border chaos. Moreover, there are important islands located near the middle of this sea. These islands are at everyone's disposal, meaning everyone can use them. But one country has occupied them. Correct guess. This is exactly what China has done.
Wrap it in bandages.
Of course, jokes aside, what China has done seems like this. They are occupying the islands and building military bases and landing strips there. Even more interestingly, they are turning rocky outcrops or small islets that are not islands into islands with the sand they bring up from the bottom of the sea. This is being done with huge ships. As usual, it's not about who is right, but who holds the power. The sad thing is that no one can do anything about this, and looking at China, they can't do anything for now. China can use its own maritime border as it wishes. Well, what do you think about all these border issues? For example, the tomb of Suleyman Shah. Share your thoughts in the comments and support me by liking the video. I'm NYGMA. See you later.